What up YouTube, Spike Robot here, and today I am doing a video that is a little bit different. This time I'm going to read to you guys a short story that I wrote. It is called The Adventures of Team Indestructible, and I hope you all enjoy it. This story began a year after the War of 2012 ended. It began on a seemingly normal day at the White House in Washington, D.C., until a group of terrorists busted in without asking and without warning. One of them fired his gun in the air and threatened the people in the White House. Then they went to the president's office and shot the president multiple times. Blood was all over the president as he collapsed. They then began putting bombs all over the office. A group of Secret Servicemen went in to shoot the terrorists, but they did little to stop them. They were immediately gunned down. The terrorists quickly exited the White House by breaking a window behind the president's desk and ran. The White House exploded behind them. A little bit later, every TV/computer screen went static, and a fiend wearing a red suit appeared on screen moments later. He said, "Greetings, my fellow Americans. My name is Dr. Bloodbath. I will be your new leader. Your old leader is in that great White House in the sky. You will notice all these soldiers around you? Well, they are going to make sure you do exactly what I tell you. If you don't, they will open fire and kill you. I look forward to ruling you all." The video stopped there. At the last remaining military base in Los Angeles, General Davidson was trying to figure out what all this meant. "Who the hell is this guy?" he asked. "We have no idea," said Lieutenant Daniel Gross. "We tried to look for a file. We looked him up on the computer, and we did not find a goddamn thing." "So we don't even know who this fucking scumbag is?" asked Davidson. "That's just fucking great. Jesus Christ, now how are we gonna stop him?" "We stop acting like fucking pussies, find him, and destroy him," said Gross angrily. "Hey, watch your goddamn mouth. That is the general you are talking to." "Lieutenant Gross has a point," said Captain Andrew Gates. It doesn't really matter who this guy is. This guy is obviously a sociopath and is clearly doing heinous actions. The most logical thing to do is find him and kill him. End of story. "What exactly did you have in mind?" asked Davidson. "Well, I could get at the unit I fought with in the War of 2012 back together," said Andrew. "Out of the question," shouted Davidson. "Sergeant Steinfeld is an angry and crazy son of a bitch, and so is Shadow." "Maybe angry and crazy is what we need," said Andrew. Davidson thought for a moment. And Davidson thought for a moment and then said, "All right. I would like you to know that Steinfeld and Shadow are both in the basement of Facility B. Do you know where that is?" "Yes," said Andrew. "One more thing. Bring your ID card." "There are a lot of devices you have to swipe it with," said Davidson. He and Andrew saluted each other, and Andrew headed from Facility A, which they were already in, to Facility B. Andrew walked over to the door in Facility B. He swiped his card. Turns out the door led to an elevator. Andrew looked at the buttons. and saw one that said, and saw one that a bee. Andrew looked at the buttons and saw one with a B on it. The button below it was the for 1 button. So naturally, Andrew pressed the B button, and on the screen, on the top left corner of the elevator wall, it said basement. Andrew could feel the elevator going downward. Then the elevator stopped. He was at the basement. Once he walked in, he saw an ID device and swiped his card on it. The door opened to a room full of capsules. 2 things, however, caught his eye. One was a capsule with Shadow inside, with a control panel. The other was Sergeant Jake Steinfeld with a bazooka, presumably blowing capsules up, or other objects of some sort. Andrew walked over to the control panel. There was a button that said terminate sleep cycle. Andrew pressed it, and the green liquid inside drained like a sink. Andrew's heart was racing, because he was praying that Steinfeld did not blow up the capsule that Shadow the Hedgehog was in. Just as soon as Shadow woke up, Sergeant Steinfeld was aiming at the capsule. "Shadow, get the hell out of there," shouted Andrew. Shadow immediately jumped onto Andrew, and the capsule he was no longer in exploded. Shadow then got up and said, "Wait a minute. Who are you? Where am I? Who is this? What's going on?" "I am Andrew Gates," said Andrew. "And I'm Jake Steinfeld," said Jake. "And we were locked down here because that bastard General Davidson thought we were too dangerous. Or at least I was. Also, while I'm at it, why the fuck do we have a black hedgehog in the military anyway? You, sir, must have caused a lot of trouble." "I don't remember causing any trouble," said Shadow angrily. "I don't even know why the hell I'm here." "Jesus Christ, somebody has an attitude problem," said Jake. "Okay, Steinfeld, now you've asked for it," shouted Shadow. They started a fight until Andrew butted in and said, "Break it up, you two. Now we all know that Jake is pissed off at General David. Now we all know that Jake is pissed off at General Davidson for locking him up in this room for a year. And Shadow here cannot remember anything. The capsule must have erased his memory. Now I need your guys' help with a mission. A huge mission. So if you can help me do this, I will try and get both of you back into the military, and I will tell Shadow everything I know about him. Does that sound fair?" "Sure," said Jake and Shadow. "All right, then let's go back to the top of Facility A," announced Andrew. The three of them did just that. When they got there, Davidson said, "Well done. But wasn't there a 4th member of your unit?" "Yes, there was," said Andrew. "All right then, find her," said Davidson. "Do you know where she lives?" "Yeah, I think so," said Andrew. He and Davidson saluted again. "Steinfeld and Shadow, I expect 110% from you both if you want to get back in the military," said Davidson. "We're not doing this for you," said Shadow. "Really? Then who are you doing it for?" asked Davidson. Everyone," said Andrew. Andrew, Jake, and Shadow took a military Oh, fuck. Not this again. Andrew, Jake, and Shadow took a military... Andrew, Jake, and Shadow took a military jeep over to the residence of the fourth member. She lived in a suburban house because for some reason she still lived with her parents, even though she was about 24. Did she have a name? Yes. Her name was Annie Kissy. When Andrew, Jake, and Shadow rang the doorbell, Annie came over to the door and opened it. However, she was angry and holding all three of them at gunpoint. "Where are they?" shouted Annie. "Where are what?" asked Jake. "My jewels," said Annie. "Stop playing games, because I know you took them. So tell me where the hell they are." "We didn't steal them," said Shadow. "Liars!" shouted Annie. "Don't bullshit me. Give them to me now." "No, for real, we don't have them," said Andrew. "The sons of bitches that stole your jewelry probably looked like us in some way. Hell, they might have even been disguised as... God damn it, it's no excuse. It's no use. God damn it, it's no use. You don't even believe me." His efforts were useless. That is, until Annie came over and said, "Andrew, I believe you." She then kissed him. When the recently reunited Team Indestructible went back to the base, they headed for the conference room and had a little meeting. Davidson and Gross were there, but the meeting did not exactly have a leader. Andrew was the first one to speak. He said, "This is our first mission, I guess. There's this idiot that goes by the name of Dr. Bloodbath. He sent a video message to every TV screen in the entire USA. How he did it, I have no fucking idea. But that's besides the point. He said he is the new president of America, and he says he wants to kill us, and says he wants us to do as he tells him to do." "So what is that exactly is our mission?" asked Jake. "Well, stop this motherfucker, obviously," said Gross. I have some reports that several guards stationed in 4 different places as well have a machine in every place," said Davidson. "What are these machines?" asked Annie. "Well, they are a particle beam cannon in an abandoned factory north of here. There's a weird neon light machine that shoots fireworks that is of some sort, that shoots fireworks of some sort in Las Vegas. There's a mechanical bridge on an unknown island near Hawaii that shoots grenades. And there's a chicken robot in Dr. Bloodbath's fortress," said Davidson. "They're everywhere," said Jake. "Oh, and I almost forgot. There are some mini subs in the ocean near the abandoned factory." said Davidson. "Got a plan, Andrew?" asked Jake. Andrew thought for a moment and then said, "I think we should go to the abandoned factory first, seeing how it's the closest to us. Annie and I will take the water bug, and you and Shadow will fight inside the factory." And how many millions of guards are there going in? And how many millions of guards are going to be in that place? Asked Jake almost angrily. All of them against two of us? We're fucked. Not exactly, said Andrew. Why? Asked Jake. Why? Asked Jake. Well, I was thinking we could use Shadow Sexy 7 to fight with you guys, said Andrew. Shadow Sexy 7 what? What the fuck are you talking about? Asked Shadow. Oh, well, in the famous War of 2012, you had an army of really sexy women who were skilled fighters. In fact, I have a picture of them if you would like to see it, explained Andrew. Actually, I would love to see it, said Shadow. Andrew got out a picture of Shadow Sexy 7 from his pocket and gave it to Shadow. Shadow looked at the picture in awe. Well, they're certainly well named, said Shadow. They're looking at you, said Jake. Shadow smiled. Well, I must say this is one hell of a plan, and said Davidson. So are we ready to pack our bags and kick some ass? Asked Andrew. Fuck yeah, the other three shouted. Then what are you waiting for? Or put your hands in, shouted Andrew. They did just that, and all of them shouted, Team Indestructible is go! The members of Team Indestructible headed north by taking a commercial flight over to this city that had this abandoned factory. When they got to the abandoned factory, Andrew pushed the water bug to the top of the ocean right next to the factory. He then went up to Jake and asked, Ready? Ready, said Jake. Let's do this, said Andrew. He and Annie went into the water bug, and Jake and Shadow entered the factory. Inside the water bug, Andrew went up to the cockpit and started to turn on the water bug. Do you know how to drive this thing? Asked Annie. Yeah, said Andrew. Might need some refreshers, but overall, I know how it works. He turned the key as he said it, but it seemed to be stuck. He tried putting the key into the ignition in a slightly different position, and sure enough, the water bug turned on. What an amazing machine, said Annie proudly. Damn right, said Andrew. Andrew started to drive the bug. Let's find those mini-submarines, he said. He drove downward, toward the ocean floor. He navigated through a reef for a few moments. The mini-subs were nowhere to be seen. The water bug went into an assortment of walls. This is when it started to accelerate abnormally. What the fuck? Asked Annie. Why are we going faster? I don't know, said Andrew. I have to focus on steering. This is what he tried to do. Fortunately, what he was doing seemed to work. He managed to avoid numerous walls in this new and bizarre section of the ocean. But suddenly, there was a huge wall in front of them that seemed too big to simply avoid. "Aw, shit!" shouted Andrew. He tried to move the water bug upward, but the water bug crashed into the wall, and Annie screamed. Thankfully, Andrew and Annie survived the crash. Seconds of silence, and Annie said, "My God, that was fucking scary." "No doubt," said Andrew. Meanwhile, at the abandoned factory, Shadow Sexy 7 prepared to distract the guards. Shadow and Jake hid in cover. Shadow and Jake hid in a cover space with the intro to the factory. on the other side. The plan was to distract the henchmen with an exotic sexual dance and then kill them. A henchman came in and the girls started to do a harem-like dance while wearing bikinis and lots of jewelry. The henchmen seemed to enjoy it, which was part of the plan. Shadow and Jake ogled them. But then one of the girls got out a gun and shot one of the henchmen multiple times. Blood spurted out of the henchman as he fell. Another girl shot another henchman and blood splattered from the area he was shot at. Another girl shot another henchman in the head, and his head blew up with blood. Jake shot another henchman several times, and blood sprayed on his chest. Another guard was on a balcony. Jake threw a grenade toward the balcony. The guard fell off the balcony. Shadow shot at a few guards with blood coming out, but he soon ran out of ammo. "Damn it," he shouted. He saw a henchman's SMG on the floor. And at the same time, he noticed two guards noticed a hole in the cover space. He looked into the hole and saw two guards running forward. He quickly put his head down and fired the SMG through the hole. Both guards' legs exploded with blood as they collapsed. Back on the water bug, Andrew tried to turn the machine on, but when he put the key and turned it, and the water bug would not turn on. More accurately, the ignition would start up weakly, but then die out. "Shit," he shouted. "What would it helped if I got out and pushed?" asked Annie without feeling. "A little," said Andrew in a similar tone, "but only a little." Annie looked in the rearview mirror. Annie looked into the rear view camera. Her face turned in horror. Oh shit!" she shouted. "Those mini subs are here. Turn on the water bug, Andrew." "I'm working on it. I'm working on it," said Andrew. Finally, Andrew turned the key, and the water bug actually turned on. Andrew drove the water bug away from the wall. He turned it toward the mini-subs and fired a missile. A mini-sub exploded. He fired a couple more missiles and blew up some more mini-subs. He saw a mini-sub above a fish and fired a missile at it. The fish swam away from the explosion. There's one for you. There's one on your right," said Annie. Andrew turned and fired a missile. The explosion occurred near the reef, but the mini-subs were still coming. He fired another missile and blew up the mini-sub in front of them. He tried to fire another, but nothing happened. "Damn it, we're out of missiles," he shouted. "Great," said Annie. Back at the abandoned factory, it was Jake's turn for some firearm fun. He got up with a shotgun and aimed at one of the guards and pulled the trigger. The guard was blown away. Jake shot another henchman in the head. The henchman's head exploded with blood. Jake fired a shotgun at a few more henchmen, and blood continued to flow. Shadow shot a henchman on the balcony. Blood spatter Blood splattered Blood splattered on the henchman's chest as he fell. Jake shot 2 henchmen in front of a machine, and the henchman collapsed on the machine with blood spurting. Jake tried to shoot another henchman but was out of ammo. "Damn," he shouted. "Don't you have a pistol?" asked Shadow. "Yeah, but I really wanted to use the shotgun," said Jake. Shadow shrugged. But when he turned his back, he noticed some. But when he turned his back, But when he turned back, he noticed something horrifying. One of the girls had no ammo. He knew this because she kept firing her gun, but no bullets were coming out. And there was a guard coming near her. Shadow aimed at the guard carefully and fired his pistol multiple times. Blood showed no signs of stopping. The girl came up to Shadow and kissed him. Shadow smiled. Suddenly, the ground began to ache a little, and some bricks and some bricks were falling down. "What the hell?" asked Jake. Then, after a few moments, it stopped. Then, out of nowhere, aimed the particle beam cannon. "Oh shit! That thing is real," said Jake in disbelief. Jake pulled out another SMG, but Shadow stopped him. "Do not fire a gun at the cannon," said Shadow. "That particle beam weapon will do gruesome things to your flesh. Not to mention a gun probably won't destroy it." Then how the hell do we stop it?" asked Jake. Shadow got out a bazooka and said, "We blow that motherfucker up." He aimed carefully at the cannon. Once again, back in the water bug, Andrew said, "There's a machine gun in the other room. Can you use it?" "Sure," said Annie. She got into the passenger seat and headed to the right and entered the machine gun room of the bug. She sat down and then said, "Let's see how you bastards do against Annie Kissy." She fired the machine gun and blew up several mini subs. A mini sub by a stingray exploded, and the stingray moved away from the explosion. She kept firing at more and more mini subs, and more mini subs exploded. On the last mini sub once the last mini sub was there and it blew up in an underwater explosion, Annie said, "Ed, you don't fuck with Annie Kissy." She headed back to the cockpit of the water bug. "Thanks," said Andrew. "Anytime," said Annie. Andrew drove the water bug upward. Back at the abandoned factory, Shadow aimed the bazooka at the particle beam weapon carefully. It looked like the cannon was going to fire, but just as Jake was about to say something, Shadow fired the bazooka and the cannon exploded. It was a fantastic explosion. The battle was over. After an extremely brief cheer of victory, Jake and Shadow waited for Andrew and Annie to come above of the water again. They did not wait long, however. When the water bug appeared, Andrew and Annie exited the water bug. Jake asked Did you destroy the mini-subs? Yes, said Andrew. Good, said Jake. The next stop was Las Vegas. Team Indestructible took another commercial airplane to Vegas. When they arrived, they checked into a hotel, but noticed some strange men in the lobby. When they went to the elevator, the men went to the exact same floor the team was going to. The team's room was 2235, and the men went into the next room. After settling down for a bit, Andrew said, I think those men are working for Dr. Bloodbath. Where'd you get that equivalency? Asked Jake. Well, obviously, they were following us and looking at us funny. And not to mention, they were asking for a specific floor at the lobby. I've heard some of that commotion, explained Andrew. I think them getting the room next to us is just a coincidence, said Jake. I still think that those men are working for Dr. Bloodbath, said Andrew. I mean, I don't know if they are, but it would not hurt to go into that room and see what they're talking about. Oh wait, if we go into the room, they might kill us. Maybe we don't have to go in, said Jake. We could just record what they are saying. And how the fuck are we gonna do that? Asked Andrew. I have this device that can record audio of a room, said Jake. All you have to do is put the receiver on the door, and it will record the audio of the other side. It's easy. Genius, said Shadow. Sure, but also a little weird, said Annie. Fair enough, said Shadow. But who's gonna go out there and record? Why don't we have Jake do it, said Andrew. He knows how to use it better than anyone else. All right, said Jake. I'll do it. He walked out of room 2235 and headed near room 2237. Jake pulled out the device and put it on the bottom of the door and turned it on. One of the men was rambling and said, I think I saw that team that blew up the doctor's particle beam thingamabob. Bloodbath said there was a black hedgehog, a man, and a bunch of whores that were killing his men and shit. And the hedgehog blew up the cannon. Another man said, Shut up. What did I do? Said the man talking before. I know that already. I read the fucking report. We should be focusing on what we should do in our plan for the casino. If we see that military team at the casino, we are going to kill them by the most violent means necessary, said the other man. Ah, shut the fuck up, interrupted the first man. And you are only telling us stuff we already know. I'll kill those motherfuckers. Easier said than done, said the other man. He took the device off the room and quickly headed back to room 2235. Andrew, you were right, said Jake. Those men in room 2237 are working for Dr. Bloodbath. What'd they say? Asked Andrew. They mentioned in the attack that happened yesterday and said they were going to kill us, said Jake. Of course, said Shadow. They're also going to attack the casino, said Jake. They may be tougher than the henchmen and at the factory, but that does not change the fact that we need a plan. Take it away, Andrew. Well, the only thing I could think of is just going in guns a-blazing, said Andrew. That's a horrible plan, said Annie. With no strategy, we will be killed. Well, I don't know, said Andrew. Do you have anything better? Do you guys have any fucking bright ideas? Nope, said Jake. I'm out of ideas, said Shadow. But I think going guns a-blazing actually might work, said Jake. Hey, if it doesn't, we just won't do it anymore, said Andrew. Fine, said Annie, but you will need some weapons. We'll get 'em, said Andrew. Now everyone say the magic words. Everyone said, Team Indestructible, let's go. Team Indestructible got dressed and headed for the casino. Andrew, Jake, and Shadow all wore tuxedos. They wanted to blend in with the environment, so the folks at the casino would think they were just like them. But at the casino, Annie was nowhere to be seen. Andrew was probably the most annoyed by this. He asked, Where the hell is Annie? She's right here, said Annie. When Andrew turned over her and saw her, he could not stop staring at her. She was wearing a bluish-purplish dress with some serious cleavage. Do you have a gun? Asked Andrew. Yeah, it's a shotgun, said Annie. Nice, said Andrew. What do you see when you look at me? Asked Annie. Andrew stood silent for a few seconds and then said, I see love. Annie looked at him for a few seconds and then turned around. That was terrible, Andrew whispered to himself as he walked away to the men. Andrew was confident in his military strategies and plans, not to mention his ability to fight. But he was never, ever confident in his way with women. A few moments later, one of the men in the hotel fired his gun into the air. A lot of people screamed. The man said, since you all disobeyed the benevolent Dr. Bloodbath, prepare for your imminent death. Just as he was about to kill one of the people, Andrew fired his gun at the men. Blood shut down his body. Andrew shot another one of the men, and yet another one of the men, and got out a walkie-talkie and said, Guys, come down here. We need reinforcements. You don't think they will come here in time? You don't think they will come here in time? Asked Jake. As soon as he said it, the henchman came into the casino. Oh. Ah, fuck! Shouted Jake. Jake fired his gun at the henchman, and blood came out again. Jake shot a henchman. Then Annie shot a henchman. And then one of the men at the hotel. Let's get those bastards from the hotel, she said to Andrew. Andrew nodded. Andrew shot at the henchman. Shadow shot one henchman, then another. But the henchman showed no signs of stopping. Jake shot on a henchman, and so did Jake shot another henchman, and so did Shadow. Shadow noticed that one of the henchmen and was holding a woman and at the casino at gunpoint. Shadow aimed carefully with plenty of precision. Several moments later, he fired his gun and the henchman collapsed with blood continuing to shed. Best shot ever, said the woman. Shadow smiled. Meanwhile, Andrew and Annie followed the henchman from the hotel to the slot machine area. Shadow shot one of the henchmen dead. Annie fired her shotgun again at one of the men. There was only one left, but Annie was out of ammo. The henchman pointed his gun at Annie. A gunshot was heard, but when Annie looked down, she saw no blood. She looked up, and the henchman's neck was spilling with blood, and the man collapsed. Andrew appeared holding his gun, with smoke coming out. Andrew stared at him for a couple of seconds, and then said, "Thank you." Shadow was stuck in a gunfight with one of the henchmen. When Shadow put his head up, the man fired before he could even fire his gun, and vice versa. Lather, wash, rinse, and repeat. But after a few moments, Shadow yelled, "Die, motherfucker!" And he fired his gun, and blood splattered all over the henchman. After that, a neon light machine started coming in. Shadow and Jake tried to kill off the rest of the henchmen, but needed to buy some time, which they did, and they did it relatively successfully, with guns still ablazing and enemies still following. "God damn it," said Jake. We don't even have a rocket launcher." "This'll make you think twice," said Annie. She got out a bazooka. "All right," said Jake. The machine started to throw some dynamite in the direction of the team. They got up. They started running as far away from the dynamite as possible. And as they ran, the dynamite exploded. When they got to the back of the room, Andrew shouted, "Hurry! Hurry, Jake, and blow that son of a bitch up." "I'm working on it," shouted Jake. Jake finally fired the bazooka, and the dynamite-throwing casino machine blew up in a fiery explosion. "We did it," said Andrew, out of breath. No one believed what they saw. Later that night, Andrew walked into the main room, only to find Annie on the couch. "You know what you said earlier to me?" "Yeah," asked Andrew without feeling. "That was the nicest thing you ever said to me," said Annie. "Really?" said Andrew. "Really, really," said Annie. Well, hearing that is a thank you enough for me. "Well, hearing that is thank you enough for me," said Andrew. "No, it's just not," said Annie. "Andrew, will you make love with me?" Andrew looked in disbelief and said, "Actually, I think I will." Andrew went up to Annie and touched her blonde hair. They started kissing extremely passionately. "We should take this into the bedroom," said Andrew, between kisses. "Then what are we waiting for?" said Annie. They headed over to the bedroom, continuing to kiss passionately, but also started and necking. They got onto the bed, and Annie took off her dress and was completely naked. Andrew himself was only half naked. And Andrew reached for a zipper, but Annie put her hand gently on him and zipped it down herself. And then went up. Then went up to Annie and kissed her from the neck down and kissed her breasts. After all this, Andrew finally stepped into the mansion of sex. He knew that once he was in, there was no going out. In fact, he loved it so much that he did not want to ever go out. Annie knew the magical feeling Andrew felt. It was heaven for both of them. The next morning, Annie was still asleep and naked, but Andrew woke up and got out of bed, and he loaded his gun. A few moments later, and the telephone rang. Andrew picked up the phone and said, "Hello?" "Andrew, I have something to tell you," said the caller. It was General Davidson. "How the fuck did you get this number?" asked Andrew. "Long story," said Davidson. "But Daniel Gross is fixing your airplane. He says that it will take a whole day to fix it. So you will have to take a commercial airplane to the island. You will have to use it some other time. But in the machine, before I will give you the walkie-talkies is to use to talk to Lieutenant Gross or myself. Okay?" "Okay," said Andrew. We'll be taking an airplane back to the base." Team Indestructible took a commercial airplane back to the base in California and started preparing for the attack. They got their weapons and walkie-talkies. After that, they headed on an airplane into a previously unknown island, and that was near Hawaii. When they got there, they hung out on the beach for a little bit. Annie got out of the plane in an orange bikini. When Annie saw her, her heart started beating. "She's so sexy," he whispered. "Andrew?" said Jake. "Yeah?" "You said Daniel is fixing the plane? When is he ever gonna fix the plane so we can use it?" said Jake. It should not be long," said Andrew. "Daniel can fix anything. I've seen him fix several machines and weapons and vehicles. The man's a fucking genius. Hell, his motto is, if I can't fix it, it ain't broken. Then again, by the time he does fix it, we probably won't need to use it after all," said Shadow. "Good point," said Andrew. "Well, at least that fucking thing will be fixed." Suddenly, a tiny explosion occurred on the beach floor. "What the hell was that?" asked Andrew. Jake shrugged. Another small explosion occurred, this time a little bit closer to them. They kneeled all the way to the ground and looked around. Suddenly, the plane they took in to get to the island and exploded. "Oh shit!" yelled Andrew. "Let's head into the jungle," said Jake. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out who or what is doing this." They did just that. Andrew immediately he saw Dr. Bloodbath's henchman. And Andrew immediately saw. But before he could do anything, the henchman saw them. Get ready for battle, said Andrew. He got out a machine gun and fired at a crowd of henchmen. Blood spurted where they were shot. Jake got his gun and shot a few henchmen with blood showing no signs of slowing. Another henchman tried to get out a grenade. He pulled the pin off and Shadow shot the henchman with the grenade, and a minor explosion occurred. Annie fired her guns at the next wave of henchmen. They collapsed like the others. That is until Andrew continued. That is until Annie had no more ammo for her guns. And she went back to her arsenal kit and found a pitchfork. She smiled and picked up the pitchfork. She searched for another henchman. She saw one of them walking up and threw the pitchfork at the henchman. Blood splashed down on his body like a waterfall. Where the fuck did you get that? Asked Andrew. I got out on a farm that I no longer live in, said Annie. It was hell. Shadow and Jake were still kicking ass and taking name. Shadow was armed with a machine gun, blasting enemies away with blood. But then he ran out of ammo. Fuck, he shouted. Have this gun, said Jake, handing him a pistol. Shadow took it and fired at a few henchmen. They collapsed. Jake noticed the mechanical bridge was firing a couple of grenades. The grenades fell in a spot where Jake and Shadow were. Jake immediately started running. Shadow looked behind him and saw the grenade and got up and ran. The grenade exploded as they fell into the ground, but they were not dead. Jake fired his gun at a henchman but missed. Son of a bitch, he shouted. As he put another cartridge in his gun. He shot the henchman and blood splattered on his chest. Suddenly a huge explosion occurred. The mechanical grenade shooting bridge exploded. And Jake looked over at Annie. Jake looked over to see that Annie fired the bazooka at the bridge. She lowered the bazooka. You go, girl, said Jake. Annie smiled.